Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Capper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. I hope you all had an opportunity to watch the last video and get in on my $50 Amazon gift card giveaway. If you haven't, please check it on my thing. All you have to do is subscribe and put in the comments MC at the start. This is on the last video and you'll be entered on July 4th. I'm going to do the draw as part of it's a perfect time because of course July 4th for all you Americans, July 1st for all Canadians. So it's kind of a good weekend for party, and we'll be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to one lucky subscriber as a thank you for getting me to 500 viewers. Also remember that at 1,000 viewers, I'll be giving away my alt account, which is a pretty decent account. It's got some really good champions. It's got some really good starting progression. I think anyone who takes over it, if they're willing to put a little bit of money or just a lot of their time into it, it's going to get them everything that you want to do. Again, I showcased that in my previous videos. If you want to see the details of that account, please take a look. I'm going to continue playing it until we do that giveaway, so it'll be even better than you see it in that video. Okay? Today we're going to do another I built them so that you don't have to, and we're going to do Rockbreaker. Rockbreaker is a Spirit Affinity Dwarf epic, and he's an interesting champion. And let's just take a look at his toolkit and show you what he is all about. First of all, he looks cool. I like all the dwarves. I think that all the dwarves are done really cool with their tattoo art, kind of that Celtic theme to it. So let's talk about his toolkit. His A1 attacks one enemy, increases this champion's defense by 4% each time this skill is used, stacks up to 20%. Damage based on defense. So he's a defense-based champion. Stacks on defense is a pretty good skill on the A1. Gives him an extra 20% once he does that 5 times. 5 times 4 obviously is 20%. That will actually come into play when you think about his A2 because he has a 75% booked to 100%, but he has a 75% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and then places a counterattack on this champion for 2 turns. So not only is he providing crowd control, assuming that his accuracy beats out the other team's resist champion, and then every time they attack him from that provoke, he's going to counterattack and increase his defense. So I like the synergy between the A1 and the A2. And then his A3 has a 25% chance of decreasing the damage inflicted on this champion by 50% each time this champion is attacked, and you can book that up to 50%. And then his aura, which kind of usually tells you where these champions are best used, is an ally defense in arena battles by 30%, which is actually a really good one. It's not the highest for arena, so your defense-based teams, your slow build teams, this could work for you. His speed is very slow. At 91, makes him a very difficult champion to ramp up that speed to where it needs to be, so it does make him a little bit hard to build. But overall, I think he's got an interesting toolkit. He's got good defense, great starting HP. His attack's low, who cares? Doesn't need it. Speed, very low. That's going to be the one killer. But let's see what we can do with him. Let's take a look at mine, and then we'll run him through the different scenarios to see how good he is and what he can do. The first thing... Okay, so here is the Rockbreaker I have built. It actually is modified slightly from some of the content because I wanted to make sure that I got the right numbers in here. So basically how you're going to think about it is whoever your fastest champion is, in my case it's going to be my Arbiter. I need this champion to be at least that fast after she boosts turn meter. So I think of it, say we both have Arbiters on our team. I go at whatever my number is. It happens to be 325. It's a slower one for the big boys, but whatever. So mine's 325. So I need this champion to be at least 325 after her turn meter boost. Now, it doesn't quite work like that because you're boosting turn meter, not speed. But if you think about it, the proportional speed difference, say their Arbiter's 324, they're going to be right just about ready to go when my guy gets boosted by 30%. So he's going to overtake them. So I believe that is how it works. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but it hasn't failed me yet, so I just assume that that's the reasonable thing. So basically, I want to get at least 250 speed to ensure that Rockbreaker jumps over and is the next one to go. If I have faster champions, that's fine, but I want to make sure this Rockbreaker jumps before their Arbiter or whoever their turn meter booster may be, and that's what I've done here. I've also tried to keep pretty good accuracy, and you can see where the issue I have with Rockbreaker is because that speed is so low at 91. I've had to use 2 sets of speed gear, which means I wasn't able to get the accuracy that I wanted. You also notice I'm only using a 5-star accuracy banner. I do have a 6-star accuracy banner, but this one's got a triple roll 20 speed plus 5. It's actually got a 5-star glyph on it, or a max speed glyph on it. So that 25 speed, I just couldn't ignore in using it for this build, even if that means sacrificing a little accuracy. What I think you'll find is that in most of Gold 4, that's going to be more than enough accuracy. It's only when you get into Platinum, and typically this champion is not going to be a Platinum tier champion, at least at this point. With my gear, maybe you got better gear. Maybe you can, if I ripped out my best champions and put some gear on here, maybe, yeah, we could argue that he could do a pretty good job. But that 91 speed is still going to handicap him, because that could have been stats looking at accuracy. I could have gone with a double roll or triple roll accuracy with only a single roll speed because I didn't need that extra speed. Just an example. So this is how I built him out. Accuracy and speed. You probably can't see all the stats here, so we'll bring them up this way. I've got 36,000 health. I've got 4,400 defense, speed at 254, and that accuracy at 338. There is a little bit of resistance, but that's mainly just because of his base resist there. And then the Great Hall gives me 40 on these champions. I don't have a lot of spirit champions, so I haven't leveled that up that high. So that is Rockbreaker. So let's take him in. We're going to take him into 3 different places. We're going to take him into the dungeons, we're going to take him into the campaign, and we're going to take him into arena, just so you can have an idea of what this champion can do. So the first thing we're going to test is the campaign. Now, obviously, this champion is not a campaign farmer, but just so you have an idea of what it can do when it jumps into the campaign. And the key here is that if you're leveling up this champion from 50 to 60, this is the most efficient way to get your experience. What I did with this Rockbreaker is I ran him through masteries and at level 1, I believe. And then I ran him through some dungeon because I was finishing the dragon dungeon. So I put him in my dragon team overnight when I was doing some farming, and that got him up to, I think, level 53. And then from 53 to 60, I ran him like this. Now, it is not going to be a fast run by any means. I think that's fairly obvious. But because he is Spirit Affinity, and because, 12-3 Brutal is kind of where you farm, it is actually really easy to farm using him as far as getting his own champion up. You're not going to break speed records, but this is the most efficient way to get his experience. So there you have it. It is a minute 20. It is not going to be a fast run by any means, but it's going to be an efficient run because he can do it solo. That means you can level him up. That's the only time you will ever want to bring him into the campaign. That's not what he's here for. Please do not waste your time and effort. Next, let's take him over to a dungeon. We're not going to do all the dungeons, but I've decided to bring the Ice Golem dungeon into play because that gives you a pretty good idea of the type of what he's going to be able to do in all dungeons. Okay, so here's the dungeon run. So first off, I know I've got a decently stacked team as part of this dungeon team. The reason why I do that is quite simple, because what you're doing is you're trying to complete a team, and while this team has no problems defeating the Ice Golem, if you are a younger account, a newer account, a more early to mid game account, you may still have these champions, but they may not be fully fleshed out. You may not have your Great Hall well developed. So that's where Rockbreaker is going to help you, because he can taunt, and you can get that even down to a 3-turn taunt fully booked, and that will help you in that early to mid game if you have the right champions, but you don't have the right survivability on these champions. This is definitely going to help you to be able to take care of that. Yes, obviously Rhodos is going to help here, but I think the main thing here, see, now he's got them all taunted. Normally in this situation, Mashalad would have died, and then if I didn't have Arbiter, I couldn't res, or just makes everything more difficult. The problem is that, well, not the problem, it's a good problem to have. So Rockbreaker's not going to add anything to the team, other than he's going to control the waves so that you can survive. That's all he's going to be there for. And I think that's an important thing to remember, because when you start progressing into mid to late game, you start improving the speeds of your dungeons. And once you do that, then you're not going to get any use out of him, because he's not here. He's not doing any damage. Like, he's doing 2500 to the boss. I could put him in crit rate gloves and he'd hit a little bit harder, but it's not what you need to be able to do fast runs, right? So just keep that in mind. Rockbreaker in dungeons, and I show you Ice Golem because it's usually waves that are pretty tricky, especially that second round. Uh, but you could say the same thing for all three of the main dungeons. Spider Dungeon would be hard to argue that he'd be of any use, other than if you put him in Lifesteal Gear, War Master, and he taunts and then puts that counterattack on himself, he would actually heal himself, which would be good for a weak affinity tank. Or if, for example, you used him in conjunction with another tank because you're having some issues in Spider, that might be useful. But overall, you're probably not going to get a ton of value out of him in dungeons, other than if you're having issues getting to the boss. And a personal example, I actually had problems with Ice Golem for the longest time until I fused Molly and built her, and then I used Molly to get through Ice Golem, and the times weren't great, but the important thing was, geez, they're getting whooped on a little bit here. Don't worry. I'm pretty sure that if everyone died and only Rotos was alive against Ice Golem, he'd still win. But yeah, so if you don't have a Molly, if you don't have an AoE taunter, that's going to be extremely helpful in getting you uh, through the waves to be able to get to the boss, I guess is the best way to put it. So just keep that in mind, that if you're sitting on this guy and you're having problems, 17, 18, 19, 20, it doesn't hurt to 6-star him and 60 him for dungeons. He's not going to be there long. He's not going to be useful long, but he will definitely help you in the short term. All right, finally, let's take him to where he deserves a spot, and that is the arena. All right, let's take him into the arena and see what he can do. Here's a pretty typical team that you're going to want to control. You're going to want to make sure that Zargala and Umbral Enchantress don't get to use their abilities. You can't do much about Skull Crown because both those hit pretty hard. I guess our A2 hits a little bit harder plus the debuff. But hopefully we have the faster Arbiter and this will work. We do. So you see here, normally if you look at where everyone is, their Arbiter is going to be the next one to go. But once I boost, now it's Rockbreaker. He's going to do what he does. Boom, he landed all four, which is good because I don't have him fully booked here. So there we go. And we get the debuff down. Now it doesn't matter if the Arbiter speed cuts on my nuker because you've got the taunt in place. I like using the speed debuff, but because there's a Skull Crown, I'm actually going to use his A2, which could stun and absolutely nails the landing. And here's the other thing. Normally, Zargala is a debuffer as well as a nuker. She can't do anything. So this is a perfect example of where he can help you in the arena. The problem with him in the arena is that this style, I think, is a little bit out of meta. A lot of the times you are not the fastest, so you need to find other ways. Plus, with Siphi and all the others, you need a lot of stripping and debuff mitigation and immunity and all those things. And I find that there's not as much of a place for this champion as there used to be. But as you can see, he's still particularly useful in the classic arena. He'll probably be very good and very useful in 3v3. All right, my final thoughts on Rockbreaker. So I don't want to call him a Vault Dweller because I believe he has some limited usefulness in certain areas of the game for certain counts. I don't think he's a must-have champion by any means. He's not even close. I don't think he's a good-to-have champion, but I think he falls just short of that, somewhere in the if you need this champion, this type of champion, here it is. We always talk about on this channel attributes, not champions, and he has an AoE provoke. That is an attribute that is very coveted in many areas of the game. Early game progression dungeons before you start changing over to speed dungeons. Arena, obviously, hugely important. And these sort of things, this guy absolutely fits the bill. There are other champions out there that do it better, and if you have those champions, you probably won't need them. But we're talking about legendary champions that aren't widely available to everyone except for the whaliest of whales and the luckiest of luck. So, or if you fuse Molly when she was available and everyone said she was garbage, except for me. I thought she was amazing, and I did. Anyway, point being, He's going to be useful in dungeons early to mid game. He's going to be useful in arena if you don't have a better AoE provoke. I would not book him, although I would feel free to take him to 6-star 60, just because with Dwarf Faction Wars he can be useful. Obviously, the arena, you will get use out of a 6-star 60 Rockbreaker unless you have so many amazing dwarfs and you already have Molly and all the rest. So for many of you, it might be worthwhile. If you have lots of books, go ahead and book them. But if you're trying to save your books, I wouldn't use them on this. I would just roll the dice and take my chances on not booking them through waves if you're going to use them for dungeon. And in the arena, just keep in mind that he needs to be fast enough to taunt their fastest player, which means you have to have that turn meter booster, or you just have to have insane gear, because his 91 speed makes it very difficult. Which I keep flipping over to this side like you can see it, but my ugly mug's in the way, so you'll just have to trust me that his base speed's 91. That's all I have for you. I built this champion, so you don't have to. And if you don't want to, don't. He's a okay champion to have in your arsenal. But overall, I give him a just better than Vault Dweller, I think, situational usefulness. Thank you. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, please still like and subscribe, because I am a personal guy and I'm easy to like and easy to hate. It's kind of weird that way. Also, be kind to one another. Practice social distancing. We are not past COVID yet. Don't listen to certain leaders of certain nations who seem to think everything's good now. It isn't. We need to continue to practice safe and effective social distancing. That is the number one way. Also, wash your hands and don't lick them profusely after going out, and you'll be good. All right. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.